Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning, Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. And what's the weather like there in United Kingdom?
It's rainy and a bit overcast, but nevertheless, a wonderful day ahead.
Excellent. Right. So we're in the middle of the week, as usual, after Tuesday and before Thursday. Looking at what the week has to offer, there's apparently an important debate going down with Mr. Trump and his rival on Friday. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the debate. Last debate, I think, was a bit of a sham. And in between that debate and recently, Mr. Trump went down with the virus. So this is the first debate they're actually having apparently on, I think it's a virtual debate, I think maybe, or there may be a live audience, I'm not sure. Anyhow, talking about the saying of the week, invest in your future, grind now and smile later. That's that. And the topic again is, can you stop eviction in the present environment? So is it possible to stop an eviction whilst we have the pandemic and whilst people are somewhat in a flux? So, and we've also, lucky again, I'm sorry to forget to tell you, we've got Deborah Sophia, I hope that's her name, on this morning.
Deborah Sophia Magdalene, but may not have been able to fit it all into one sort of title sentence on the title underneath the videos. So
okay, so Deborah Sophia Magdalene sounds like somebody from a one of those fairy tale stories. So she's going to be on in a few minutes. We're going to give her a brief introduction, and then we're going to have her give her own introduction and a bit more information about her own life stories. It sounds very exotic compared to what Lakhi probably has been doing, and she apparently sold her assets and her property and everything, and went away to live life in the South American Amazon, I think, and that's where she learned a lot about natural medicines and health and well-being, living in the jungle. So don't be surprised if you see her pull out one of those large pythons, because she's been living there, and I'm sure she's probably seen lots of those exotic snakes. So the question, Lakhi, is it possible to stop an eviction in the pandemic? Or is it that the system already is quite at loggerheads? There's lots of court cases have been left pending, and tenants were sitting in their properties, not leaving, and the landlords are probably more frustrated than tenants are. So what's the situation with eviction, Lakhi Singh, during the pandemic?
well, what's happening is in areas like Wales, there's a 6-month inability to evict because of COVID-19. The council's not allowing, the courts are not really giving in the favor of the landlord. So the landlord is now stuck with the sitting tenant. And there's a gentleman called Paul Champolina who's become very famous now for all his work with the TV program called, I think, Slum Landlords and tenants. I can't remember the name of the TV program, but there's a lot of updates that he's giving about what's happening in the market. So that's actually quite up to date on what's happening, but I don't really know exactly what's happening in terms of the eviction rules or the legal rules in England at the moment. But it seems to be a sort of moving feast. But I know for sure that a lot of landlords aren't able to get access to properties because of COVID-19. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a bit of a lock. I mean, it must be really damaging for the landlords. I mean, because they depend upon the rental incomes and the rental incomes that they use to pay off the lenders. I'm not sure whether the lenders are being that, flexible or laxed in their mortgage payments. Anyhow, the topic will continue, but for now, we've got somebody who's a breath of Amazon fresh air. She's different. Her background's different, probably not related to property, but for somebody to sell up everything and make tracks and leave the United Kingdom, leave the developed world, leave the comforts of a developed society and go to the jungle. Big ask, big issue. We'll find out why. Was it love or was it insanity? Can we have on the famous Deborah Sophia Magdalene? Is she here? Here you are. You've appeared from behind the button of the operator. How are you doing, Deborah?
Awesome. Really good. I must say, I'm not used to getting up when it's dark. I used to do that when I had a regular job, and now I sort of get up when the sun comes up.
All right. So, what would you compare yourself to in Amazon rainforest creature terms? What are you? Are you one of those nocturnal monkeys? What are you then?
I'm definitely nocturnal. Everybody has the peak time when, of working. Some people are morning people. So if they've got a deadline to meet, they get really, really early and do it. Some people get it done during the day. I'm a night owl, definitely. And that's my peak time. And that's when I can focus.
Okay, so you're an owl, so an Amazon rainforest owl. Are there any owls in the Amazon? We'll find out later. But she definitely is nocturnal. We'll find out about Deborah. So, Deborah, it's really, I would say I am in awe of your abilities. We are, for the best of us who try or attempt to be material-less in our existence, and say, oh, we don't really need that, and I don't need a car, or I don't need that, but really difficult for us. So we are creatures or beings of comfort. Now, for somebody sitting, where were you were you in the United Kingdom, Magdalene? With a name like Magdalene, I would assume you're probably Polish or Romanian. What are you?
I was born and bred in Burnley, up in Lancashire, up in the north of England.
That sounds exotic. Burnley, is that somewhere in between Europe and Ireland?
It's not far from Manchester.
Right, another famous exotic, Winslow Road, an exotic area for lots of people of different cultures. So you're basically from Burnley, as it would be said. So you're from Burnley. How did you, okay, tell us, what was it that made you leave those comforts in Burnley? And I assume you were in a good job. Were you an executive of some kind? Were you
my own business? Yeah, I was running my own business.
You're decent?
So what happened? We've got some background noise there. Can you hear properly?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just turn the volume down a bit, that's all. You'll be all right.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Yeah, go on.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
That's better. So what happened was that, I sort of left. I was working as executive director at Burnley Enterprise Trust. So I had
That's what I
like
thought. Yes,
and then
executive director.
yeah, and then I did Tony Robbins' life mastery program up in Scotland, and on that show, he said like it was actually one of his top trainers who was doing the training, a guy called Shaw Slocum, and he had a big impact on me. And he said, when you start to do what you truly want in this world, he said, like, doors will open for you, which wouldn't have opened had you not made that decision. He said, you've got to burn your bridges, like there's no going back, and then things will happen. And I thought, well, what am I on this world to do? And I knew that, like, you know, being in the business support industry, I loved it, but it wasn't my life calling. And my life calling is all about helping people and like helping them to raise a vibration. And so I went back to work, and we had a board meeting 2 days later, and I handed my notice in. And I said, right, guys, I said, I've made a decision. I'm going to start what I'm put on this earth to do. I'm going to set up my own business in coaching and training. And they all went, wow. And I thought, well, I've done it now. I'm saying, you know, that's it, no going back. And I gave them 9 months notice. And I ran my coaching and training business, which was called Global Hugs, because I was the director of Hugs, because my whole philosophy is about helping the excluded to feel included and reaching out to people that really need that physical contact, because everybody needs that physical contact. And so I ran my coaching and training business for a while, and I was doing Tony Robbins' Wealth Mastery Program as well at the time. And I went down to London, did his Wealth Mastery Program, and then realised that I needed to have like multiple streams of income. And I thought, how can I create another income? Because I'd gone through a divorce, bought my ex-husband out in the property, and so my expenses had doubled, the household income had halved, and it was tough financially. You know, I had 2 children living at home with me. And so did the Life Mastery Program. And when I came back, I had a leaflet behind the door saying, do you have a spare room in your house? I said, yeah. Would you like an extra income? Yeah. Can you offer support for homeless teenagers? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a youth coach as well. And so I started offering youth coaching, and young people would come and stay with me for up to 2 years. And then I had a coaching session with a man who said to me, he said, Deborah, where do you come on your list in terms of priority? And that made me really, really think. And I realised that I was putting everybody else before me. And that is
excellent. Excellent. So you were a selfless person, a bit of a Samaritan, a bit like Teresa or Mother Teresa in Burnley.
I won't say that.
Or rather, Mother Teresa, right? More like Mother Teresa in Burnley. Is that right?
Well, I did like helping people, but what I realised was that, you know, like I came way down my list. And so when I turned 50, what I did was I gave my children 6 months notice to leave home. They were 22 and 24 at the time. And I realised that all the time that they were living with me, they weren't going out into the world to learn their own life lessons. And I decided, my next door neighbour bought my house, so I didn't need to put it on the market. That was effortless. I got a good price for it. And I changed my name from my old married name, and I just said,
what year was this in? What year was it?
2011.
2000. So it's quite recent, really. It's not that far back. So it's literally straight after the last recession, and somewhere sort of like in no man's land of the developed world in terms of economies and all that, because everything is all up in the air. And in the middle of that, you decided to sell the house and give the kids notice. Excellent. So before I continue with that exciting story, Julie says, obviously the laws of eviction have changed somewhat in the United Kingdom or in England, and the stay on evictions is now lifted, so you can evict tenants, and obviously the notice periods have become longer. But we'll explain or understand that later on. We will try and get Julie on to give her wise words of wisdom in eviction. So, Lakhi Singh, could you do what Deborah did? Deborah, Sophia, Magdalene, could you do what she did? Could you sell the house, sell the fancy cars, sell the suits and everything, just buy a small a pair of underpants, really, get rid of the Superman or Lakhi Singh fixer, t-shirt and the tights, get rid of the cape, and just fly out of the country on your holy solely and start life again in another part of the world? Could you do that? Is it possible?
I think it's easier said than done. I think because I've got elderly parents nearby, that'd probably be the only reason that'd probably stop me doing it. But there isn't really many other reasons that could hold me back from doing something that's going to be, uplifting your soul, I suppose.
Excellent. So, Deborah, did you have your parents around the corner as an excuse to stop you leaving for your dream?
That actually happened. What happened was when I first set off, I set off on a 2-month road trip around Europe. And when we were coming back in the car, I went with my partner at the time. And when we were coming back up the motorway from France, going to get the ferry, the car had an accident. It's like it simultaneously engaged 2 gears. I don't know how that is even possible, but the steering completely went. We veered across the motorway. The car went into a spin 3 times, and I just thought, wow, I could die here. And do you know what? I didn't have.
You actually think it that way? Was it, wow, I think I can die here, or was it more?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was, wow, I could actually die here. And I just said, angels protection now. And the car came to an abrupt halt on the hard shoulder, and the airbags went off and everything. And I thought, wow, what just happened? And when I came back to the car was a write-off. The insurance company wouldn't cover it, because I don't know if you're aware of this, guys, but if your car has an accident, it's not covered on insurance if it's mechanical failure on the vehicle. So
excellent. Okay, new one to learn.
Future.
So if it's a mechanical failure and you have an accident, so it's not an accident as in terms of a real accident where you bump in or someone bumps into you. Yeah. This is if your car mechanically fails, even though you've got an MOT. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. One of the clauses of the insurance. They'll do anything to get out of paying you.
Okay.
When I came back to the UK,
you were on the motorway coming back from where? Yeah. Where were you coming from?
I was driving up from. I've been to the Champagne region of France. My friend lived there, and we've been to stay with her and had a tour of the Moët Chandon cellars, which was fascinating, and looking at the vineyards where all the champagne grapes are grown. Yeah, but it was at the end of a 2-month road trip, so I've been all over.
A 2-month road trip, you've come back, you're driving up. Is it your boyfriend or your partner at that time who's driving the car, and has he gone to the airport to receive you, or has he come at Calais to take you out of the refugee camp? What happened? How did he pick you up?
No, it was my partner. It was my car. I was driving. He doesn't drive. So I did all the driving.
It would have been a bit difficult if he doesn't drive, because he wouldn't have been able to understand how to drive. He wouldn't have had the accident. That would probably been the right decision to take, giving him the car, because you wouldn't have been driving. But anyhow, you were driving, and when you were driving, the gear jammed, spun around. You said, "Wow, I could have died there." What happens next? Then what happens? Forget about the insurance claim, because obviously, they made an issue about it. What happens? What is it that's ticking in your inner side? What happens?
It was like time slowed down. It's like as the car was going round, and I was thinking, wow, I could die here, and I called in the angels for protection. It was like I could die, but what really sort of came to me in that moment was that it's okay if I do, because like, it's my belief that we're going home, our consciousness lives on, it never ever dies, and we're here in these temporary bodies.
Excellent. Okay.
And it was part of the letting go process, Sal. It was like I'd let go of the house. I've got a good price for my house. My next door neighbour was actually going to give me $2,000 for the car when I got back, because my plan was I was going to go off to India, but the car was a write-off, so I left it in France, got the train home, and when I got back to the UK, it turned out that my father was ill. He had cancer, and he was my mum's carer. She had Alzheimer's. So I ended up putting my travel plans on hold for 2 years and moving in with my parents in a caring role, but going away for trips. So I did like a tour of Egypt. Then I went to like Guatemala and Mexico.
Okay, so you went to all of these exotic places, destinations, when you were living at home with mom and dad, and okay. So, Lakhi, I want to ask you, because obviously this is exciting, and it's nice to know somebody who has got the guts and the courage to break away from what is regarded as the norm. So, Lakhi, did you ever find yourself in a situation where, apart from the fact you're saying because of your parents, it'd be difficult for you to, but in your early days, you did go to Europe, and you were there, and you, if I'm not wrong, you were cooking food to make ends meet. So is that as exciting as going out to a vineyard? Or did you go to the vineyards there in Italy?
Well, I'm a teetotaler, so it wasn't really my cup of tea. But I did actually have a similar sort of epiphany sort of thing, where I thought I've got to go and travel and actually see the world a bit when I was about 22. So I did go and live in Italy for about 4 or 5 months on a sort of similar sort of trek, where I sort of contacted about 20 different people I'd met in London, and then had so many invites for me to go and visit them all. So I actually booked a 2-month session in Florence to learn Italian. I also visited various friends across the whole of Italy, in Rome, Pisa, sort of North Italy, Venice, Sardinia. So I sort of did it all in one go, rather than bits. So
okay,
I thought
I've got a shout out. I've got to give a shout out to all the people who've given us a hi. We've got Sajo, as usual, Cam. We have 2 Cams. We've got a Cam Ali and a Cam Patel, and we've got Rina and John Smith and Amar and anybody else? And nobody else. Right. So we've got all these people saying good morning, good hi to everybody, giving it a shout out. Okay. Right, Deborah. So now you're with mom and dad. You found out they're not well. So 2 years. What was the 2 years for? Why not 6? Why not 10? Why 2 years? Why did you stay with them?
Dad had been given the all clear with his cancer. He'd recovered.
Excellent.
And I realised it had become a bit of a codependency. And I put care package in place, and if they chose to take that up. And what had happened was I've gone to Spain to do a detox retreat in the May of 2019.
So you were curing yourself of what? Is it?
No, I wasn't curing myself of anything. I was really, really healthy, but you know, it's important to do regular cleanses to pull toxins out of the body because we get a build-up.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I was on that retreat, we had like somebody zoomed in from New Zealand who was doing a talk on the journey of the soul, and one of the guys on the course that I was doing said, "Hang on a minute, mate, how do you know all this then?" And you know, the trainer said, "Well, I've actually had direct experience of it when I was in the Amazon rainforest working with the sacred plant medicines, and that really piqued my interest and my intuition was kicking in. And I invited this guy to come to Manchester, bearing in mind he's in New Zealand. And I said, if ever you come to the UK..." So
you were making a comparison between the Amazon forest and Manchester, in particular Winslow Road, maybe?
No, I wasn't making any comparison. Oh. It was my intuition was telling me to take note of what was going on. And I said, because I was an event manager, I've been like organising spiritual events for many, many years, and personal development events, business events. And so I invited him to come to Manchester, and he said, well, I'm actually coming over in June. This was the following month. He said, I'm doing some talks in London, so I can come to Manchester. I said, cool. So when I came back to the UK after this detox,
were you sober when you came back from Spain? Or was it you came back from Spain? You say from the detox?
Yeah.
Okay, so you came back, and he was coming to Manchester. So you, well, he was coming to London, but you invited him to Manchester.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so he came back. So you came back, and then what happened?
I came back, and I started to, I found out about a retreat that was going on in the Peruvian Amazon rainforest. I've been on the mailing list for an organisation, and they were actually organising a retreat. And when I read it, this guy who I'd been talking to on Skype was actually one of the facilitators on this retreat, and I had no idea that was happening. And then what had happened was my sister had come back from Brazil, and she brought me and my other 4 sisters crystal bracelets back.
Excellent.
And she said, Deborah, there's a bracelet here that just had to buy for you. She said, I know that you need this bracelet. She said, I'm going to put all 5 out on the table and see which one you're drawn to. So she lays them out on the table. And then as soon as she put one of them down, I went, it's this one, it's this one. What is this stone? It's one that I've not seen before. Well, when she told me, I nearly got through the floor. It was Amazonite. I thought, there we go.
Amazonite. Okay.
Amazonite.
Is that talking of Amazonite? Now, excuse me, go over to Mr. Singh. Is that the same as kryptonite? Because I know you lose your powers when you have kryptonite thrown into your bathtub, or either put into one of the pockets of your suits. Is that the same, Lakhi? Are you up for kryptonite?
I'm not sure what that's meant to mean. I think you should carry on with the interview with Deborah.
No, I am going to continue with the interview. I'm trying to work out, because she says it's Amazonite. I'm trying to work out, is that the same as a kryptonite that takes your superpowers away?
Not at all, no. I think she's talking about a stone. I think you're talking metaphorically. They're 2 different things.
And I'm talking about kryptonite, as in from the planet Krypton, where
so I don't think anybody understands what you're talking about.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So we'll come back to Deborah now. So you put your hand on the Samsonite. Before we continue where you're putting your hand, we are going to give a shout out to Cam. It's going to be in tomorrow. She's going to be on live with us, just like Deborah today. Actually, Deborah, I think we need to have you on more regularly, because you seem like a fascinating young lady, and I've got lots of things to learn. And yes, so you were putting your hands on something, you said? You put them on a piece of Amazonite. Right, okay. And what happened then?
When things happen in threes, it's like we send ourselves signals and signs, and it's like, take note of this, right? So I knew that I needed to go to the Amazon. It was like an inner knowing. And so I booked a one-way ticket to Peru. I thought, there's no point booking a return flight because I know I won't come back. So I just decided I was going to go to Peru. I was going to go to Machu Picchu because it had been on my vision board for 8 years. And the other thing that I booked was the retreat in the Amazon rainforest, living with the Shipibo tribe, way away from, like, far away from any civilization. Is
that the, what's it now? Apocalypto. That's it. Adaka. Is that the same people?
I don't know.
We don't see the movie Apocalypto.
No.
Oh, you've not seen it? You must see that. It is actually about the tribes of the Amazon. It's back in the old days when they used to worship the sun god. So I don't know if you said, did you go and see those towers that they used to worship on, etc.?
I saw a lot of the when I was in Guatemala and Mexico, I visited a lot of the sites there, the big pyramids.
That's right, the pyramids at where they used to worship their sun god.
Yeah.
So you okay? So you've not seen the movie Apocalypto? You must see the movie Apocalypto. It'll be very. You probably recognize lots of little hangouts and spots that you were living at. Okay, so you went to a place called Macadamia, you say? What's the place called?
Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu. Right, okay. So you get to Machu Picchu. What happened?
Machu Picchu.
And you do, yes.
Famous site in Peru, so it's like a big Mayan temple complex at the top of like these mountains. It's so beautiful.
That's probably the one.
And then I spent time. Yeah, I spent time in the Amazon rainforest as well, and I ended up spending.
It's been very difficult because the rainforest. It's very humid. The atmosphere, the climate, the temperature. How did you get used to it? What did you go through in the acclimatization process? Were you sort of like sitting for weeks at a time, drinking lots of water to bring up your metabolism and your liquid levels? How did you just jump in from the humidity of Burnley to the humidity of the Amazon? How did you cope?
You just get on with it. You just do it. It was like a 7-hour journey down the Amazon River to actually get where we were going to, to this little village. And there's no running water there, no electricity, no running water, but you're living completely in harmony with nature.
Excellent.
With the Amazon rain.
Just want to know, because there's lots of things you're missing out there, which I'm sure must have been exciting. The 7-hour trip down the Amazon, and I assume this is not the Amazon that delivers pizzas to you. We're talking about the Amazon River. Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay. So did you get any pizzas delivered en route? Were you stopping off at local petrol stations or boat stations, as they're probably called? Oh, how did you see any crocodiles, any snakes? Did you see, orangutans? What did you see on the way down?
Well, I was on a boat. It was like an open top boat with a motor on the end of it.
Cruising. A bit like Lakhi Singh cruises out on his Bentley on the weekend, open top boat, giving it the high five. Is that right?
No.
Okay. What was it like?
It was really beautiful. I just like to be in the moment and just to take everything in. And I was going on this journey with 17 other people. And so we were getting to know each other on the boat trip. We were going to be spending time together, in ceremony and living in these huts, and it's like you're going down there and you're thinking, wow.
Living in cups, did you say? Deborah? You're living in cups, did you say? Wasn't that a bit hot?
They've got huts that are on stilts.
So they must have made big cups that you were living in. So they were living in huts the other way around, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see any crocodiles? That's my question.
No.
Did you see any snakes?
No.
Okay. Well, I've deflated my requirement. Anyhow.
Do you see any elephants?
Did you see any elephants in the Amazon? In Peru? Are there any elephants in Peru? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, we bathe twice a day in the Amazon River, you know, and like one of the boys in the village, actually, he had a big lump out of his leg, and when I asked what had happened, he'd been attacked by piranhas. So we were like bathing in here twice a day and swimming and having fun, and
with the piranhas. Yeah. With the piranhas, well, they probably knew you were from Burnley. They didn't want to actually end up you biting them. Yeah. Okay. Pardon?
They need to stay away from me.
They need to stay. That's what I'm saying. The piranhas probably realised that you're from Burnley, and they didn't want to actually take a risk in biting you.
That's
and
right.
Getting back. Okay, so you were twice a day skinny dipping in the Amazon. How long for? What happened? Okay, you were bathing. Okay, you were bathing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened then? How long did you stay there for? What happened?
I was in the Amazon for 17 days. And it was during that time, you know, we did 5 ceremonies with the sacred plant medicines. And it's during that time that I sort of had an experience of my multi-dimensional nature. You know, I could see beyond the veil of illusion. I could see the sacred geometry all around me, and I could see how every thought I had was a seed of creation, and how that was actually brought down into the physical. And so it gave me it answered a lot of questions for me. I had a life review. I could see, you know, a lot about the lessons in my life, and it gave me a deeper understanding of our divine nature.
Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to switch across to Lakhi and find out whether he's done anything as exciting in Berkeley Square. Did you go out in Berkeley Square, Lakhi Singh, with your shorts on? And did you find the essence of the sexy fish bar giving you a realization or a check about the reality of Berkeley Square in Soho?
No.
Okay, so obviously Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, seems very boring to me today. I'm coming back to Deborah. Deborah, now you've become somewhat immersed in 3-dimensional or 6-dimensional energy fields. You're picking up everything left, right, and center. You can see through the underwear of everybody, apparently, or you can see through people's clothes and stuff and through the walls. What happened? How many days was that going on for?
Well, that's an interesting projection, actually, Sal. No, I didn't have superpowers in able to see through people's clothes.
Okay, I was just thinking, because I'm just planning to go out there myself so that I can get those superpowers, come back and enjoy, life. Anyhow, but okay, you saw energy and the existence of energy around you. That's what you experienced. How many days were you there for? 7, was it? 70. 70 days. And was this happening every day?
17.
17? Okay. So was this happening for every day of those 17 days?
No.
Were you always in a trance, and were you sort of like, you're like a bit high? What was it?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
and it's a very sacred practice. It's a very sacred experience, and it's not something that you do lightly. You know, it's not like what I learned was that plants are teachers. and we need to treat them with
Plants.
respect. And when
Okay.
we can work with the consciousness of plants. Like, for example, when I came back from the Amazon to the UK, I started working with essential oils, which have a different consciousness, and we can use them in many ways for our own spiritual, physical, emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, had I not had that experience in the Amazon working with the plants, I wouldn't have had the same appreciation for working with the essential oils.
Okay. Can you use these oils to stop an eviction?
Well, I wouldn't know on that one because I've never been evicted. So I don't have
right, okay.
experience of that.
Lakhi Singh, do you think there's a potential of taking these life-changing oils and rubbing them on the forehead of one of the judges to convince him that somebody should not be evicted? Do you think it'll work?
I think there's a possibility because, funnily enough, although I know you're joking, I would say that a lot of judges that get caught up in treating people just like numbers, and they lose their humanity. So on a more philosophical level, I would say that giving them essential oils will probably give them a different energy, maybe help them to be more grounded and actually have more of a connection with the humanity, and may want to be a lot more look at things a bit on a social level rather than being very rudimentary in their verdicts over people who may have nowhere to go in their life from what they're going to be subjugated.
So excellent. That's more on the humanity side. Probably a good idea. Take a towel with you and take a bottle of oil with you and have the judge out on the desk and give him a back massage and convince him he needs to be more human and stop looking at these people as a digit. Probably a good idea. Carolyn Williams says she's loving the conversation. I think she's also being immersed in the energy that Deborah's because the energy that Deborah's got a wonderful personality about her. She's transmitting it through the what's it now? What do we call it?
Frequency.
What's it called?
Frequency.
That's right. It's coming through the live stream from Deborah, and I think it's affecting Karen. She's loving the conversation. Okay, Deborah, now you spent 17 days there. Was this a momentary experience you had? That little thing that happened when you saw everything and it was all coming together? Did you go back to normal after that, or have you stayed in that zone? Have you been able to keep the essence of that experience? Coming back and playing with oil, was that because of that, or is that something else that's happened on your journey back?
Right, so there's a couple of questions there. So when I came back to the UK after, I was actually traveling in South America for 11 months in total. And
so you were in South America for 11 months?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So why did you leave the retreat? Were you kicked out because of your discipline or something? Were you,
It was a retreat. So the retreat was for a specific amount of time, and then we went to Cusco, and then I went to Machu Picchu, and then I stayed in Cusco for 5 weeks, wanting to integrate everything that I had sort of experienced.
Right. What experience was that?
Journal every day, and then I wanted
you had an experience in Costa, you say?
Cusco.
Costco. So you mean the supermarket, the Costco, the supermarket. Was that like an argument with the tiller or someone didn't give you what you wanted, or didn't have the prices marked properly on the tills? What was that?
Cusco, it's one of the big cities in Peru.
Right, okay. So you went to Costco and you had an experience there. What was that experience about?
integrating. And I made a lot of friends in Cusco. I stayed there for a while, and then went traveling around, you know, to like different sites. I wanted to see the country, you know, sort of.
Do you find that you're a person who's receptive to the environment around you? Are you like a bit of an antenna? Are you like the 5G of humans, sort of picking up things, you know, extra sensory perception? Is that what you have?
Well, I think everybody has that to a certain extent. Like, you could go to a certain place and you can get good vibes, you can get bad vibes about the place. Like, I went to a place in Bolivia called La Paz, which was really, really dark energy. I didn't like it there at all. I got a very, very bad feeling about the place. And so I didn't.
Which place was that? What place?
La Paz in Bolivia.
La Paz.
Yeah.
Okay, bad feelings about La Paz. Okay, and what was that?
Just the whole energy of the place.
Okay, so you go around. So are you saying that you've experienced the energy levels around the world, wherever you've been, and certain places transmit a positive energy? And has this any bearing on ley lines? Are these the same things? Are they things that you also get affected by the ley lines?
So ley lines are energy around the world, and transmitting energy from different sites. So yeah, I do work with ley lines. Like in Glastonbury, for example, you know, at Chalice Well, you've got two ley lines, so the Michael and Mary line that cross. So, and I love to go to stone circles and places like that where the ancients worshipped, and sort of what I found was that working in the Amazon, it gave me an insight to tap into the consciousness of a place. And so like, I go to Stanton Drew Stone Circle, for example, in Somerset. And the first time I went there, I got a really, really strong feel. I was there by myself, and I actually got 16 poems through from the standing stones. They gave me messages for humanity. And I get poems from trees as well by tuning into the tree and connecting with the consciousness of the tree, because they're wise beings. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that everything has its own consciousness, and we can learn from each other.
Actually, what happened is I did a training course on NLP once, and we did quite a lot of meditation work. And they actually taught us how to actually see the consciousness of a tree. So you could see the whites around a tree.
Yeah,
so you've got to be in a fairly deep state of meditation to be able to do that.
Excellent. Okay.
So I think a couple of people were able to do it. I don't think I got to that stage, because you've got to be in quite a deep level of a very deep level of consciousness.
Okay, so Lakhi, you were able to see the white lines outside of a tree.
I think I'm able to see that in if you do a fair amount of meditation, you can see it around people.
Okay, right. Okay.
You can see the auras around people if you're in quite a deep state of meditation. But you've got to be, you know, practicing your meditation regularly and practicing getting into deeper level of one of the deepest levels of consciousness to be able to do that. So, so I think there's a lot of how do you say, misinformation around health and well-being, or you could sort of say lack of knowledge around it. So a lot of people wouldn't really understand anything around consciousness, around plants or humans, in terms of being able to see it. Even I think, but a lot of the knowledge that I think Deborah is sharing is actually well known in the magic industry, where they actually use it to manipulate, to be able to show as if they know lots of things, but reality they're using a lot of access to people's consciousnesses to be able to, you know, tell people what they're thinking, these sort of things. So
excellent. Can you tell me what I'm thinking, Deborah, now?
No.
Okay. Right. Okay. Anyhow, So what we have Zubair Khushi, who gives us a big smiley. He's got a big smiley on because he's enjoying the conversation. I think a lot of people are probably mesmerized by Deborah and her sense of free will. How are you finding it living back in sunny Burnley when you have all of this lockdown going on, the constraints of the big brother telling you can't sit with more than 1.5 people? So technically you have to look for one and a midget to be able to sit with 1.5 people. Otherwise you can't be sitting together. You have to be, it will be regarded as being harmful. So how do you cope in that in person in your consciousness?
Lockdown for me has led to many changes because I have a nomadic lifestyle. In 2016,
so you've got lots of friends in the tree world, you mean? Lots of friends who are happy to give you their tree or their bark to live under.
Well, I actually set up a house and pet sitting business, and I was running my essential oil business online up until COVID came along. And then all my pet sitting jobs cancelled. So I then came to stay with my father up in Burnley. And I've been here ever since. And I had 2 months when I was really still. I always follow my intuition, and I just got this message from the universe just to be still and to do nothing, which is what I did. And what was interesting is my essential oil business did better without me than me working in it. So that was an interesting lesson for me. But during that time, a friend sent me a video to a new piece of technology. And she said, Deborah, I know you're into energy and vibration and raising consciousness. She said, have a look at this video. I thought of you when I saw it. And I watched it and I started getting tingles all over. And I started to research this technology. And I, after 2 days of researching the company, the inventor, the technology, I invested in my own device. It's like a frequency generator. And this has ended up being like just since May, when I invested in my own device, I've now ended up with like a business which has expanded to like 8 or 9 different countries. I've got about 180 people on my team, and we're marketing this device in to over 45 different countries. So it's really exciting technology. So for me, lockdown has been a blessing.
Excellent. Okay, so the universe asked you to stay
The funny thing about the technology, Vijay Sal, is that about 8 or 9 years ago, I worked with a gentleman called Constantine, and they had a prototype of this technology at that time. And but since then, I think they've really developed it and made it more accessible. So I think yourself and I actually went to see this practitioner, and he showed us how it all worked, and we did pretty much a whole day session where he went through checking our auras, chakras, checking the level they vibrate at, but also giving us a picture of our complete health diagnosis of all our organs in terms of what level they're vibrating at. So the most amazing thing is that as soon as going back to energy, I think Deborah only spoke on Thursday last week, and as soon as I saw the word frequency, I sort of realized what it was about, but intuitively, not necessarily realizing what it was about. So since then, Deborah and I have connected, and we're going to be helping to actually share her knowledge and experience in terms of rolling this out so that other people can benefit. But a lot of government agencies and a lot of let's just say bureaus tend to use this sort of tech to optimize the ability of their high-end employees. Is my guess. It's not necessarily proven that they do that, but I'm pretty certain of it. So if you can bring this to whatever the product here. I think Deborah can probably explain it maybe a bit more in another interview. But the technology is out of this world, so there isn't anything like it. So one of the issues,
you probably have to book a shuttle out to get
possibly,
the
because it's not something that's understandable or comprehensible by most people in terms of what it is and what it can do. So I'm gonna stop stealing Deborah's thunder now. She can continue and tell us more. But I thought I'd give you my little take on it.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so talking about vibration, and Lakhi, who is himself a vibrating man of knowledge, an expert in the fixing of various matters. Deborah, right? So I think we've deviated from the topic today. I think your stories. I think you're a free soul, as it is, who's got lots of trees as friends around the country. Any experiences? Any relationship issues with any of the trees in Burnley that you've undergone since COVID? Have you sort of because you've been told by the universe to stand still? Are any of the trees missing you, or are they? Do you talk to your trees?
Well, before approaching permission, and you get permission from the tree to connect with it, and you if you get that permission, you can go and commune with the tree. I love tree hugging. I'm a tree hugger, and I'm proud of it. It's like we have this symbiotic relationship because we exhale, the carbon dioxide. Trees inhale carbon dioxide. Trees.
It's like a gel of relationship.
You may have missed this, but about a week ago, I posted on the Alternative Property Solutions community me hugging a tree.
Did you?
And I'm saying, is it healthy and wise to be hugging trees, or is it bonkers? Then I wrote underneath it, I don't think it's bonkers. I love hugging trees.
Oh, look, it's
that's a coincidence, isn't it?
There you go.
It's a coincidence. I know. I'm just going to bring up something. It's the last 2 minutes, so I'm not going to get caught up in another long, interesting conversation with Deborah. But interesting, we had a client we were talking to a while ago who apparently had cut down a tree outside of his local restaurant and was fined by the local council. And one of the things that happened during that process of him being prosecuted for cutting the tree down was a tree psychologist was employed to work out how much stress had been caused to the tree. So I think it probably relates back to you, Deborah, in terms of there actually are people working in the council who are psychologists for the trees, who probably manage their stresses, because they're living in a society that's built up around the city now with all the fumes and the exhaust and the pollution. Are you finding complaints coming back from the trees that you connect with? Are they saying, look, tell these people to cut down on all the pollution? Are you getting?
Yeah, I haven't personally the tree.
You haven't had a personal relationship with a tree?
I haven't had that conversation with the tree.
No conversation.
Yeah.
But do you feel?
Maybe I should.
Do you feel the stress they are under?
They are.
I think, Deborah, you need to branch out.
Very good.
Okay. I think you need to be mindful of the fruit that you're taking from Deborah's tree. You need to be careful.
I think you need to get uprooted.
Last 30 seconds, I'm going to say thank you so much, Deborah. You are somebody who's got a lot of informative, interesting information, not all about eviction, but we have learned today from obviously listening to Lakhi Singh and Deborah that it may be a good idea to walk in with a towel and a pair of flip-flops to the local court and convince the judge that he needs a massage with some of these oils that she has to allow him to stop the eviction. And if you can't do it that way, contact Lakhi Singh, the alternative business and property solutions community, to find out how to do it in a more clinical way. Thank you so much for your time, Lakhi Singh. Deborah, we've got a special guest on tomorrow. I've already mentioned her name, can't remember it, but I'll remember it tomorrow. We will have her on and look forward to seeing then Lakhi Singh, the Property Fixer, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning with the alternative business and property solutions community.